Assalamualaikum fourth years. Today we will discuss nutritional factors in selected diseases. As you are learning about nutrition from previous lectures and you have learned a lot, and today we will discuss how nutrition affects certain non-communicable diseases and the learning objectives, that at the end of this lecture, of course, you will be well aware of the role of dietary factors in causation of certain non-communicable diseases. How your diet or your nutrition, it plays its role in multifactorial etiology of specific diseases. What specific diseases? We will discuss today about cardiovascular diseases, and then of course diabetes mellitus, obesity and cancer. First we will consider about the cardiovascular diseases. Now you know that in non-communicable diseases, there is not a single cause. You cannot blame a single cause that this causes the disease. In usually non-communicable diseases, there is multifactorial etiology and so many factors, so many risk factors, they are responsible for the causation of disease. So today, as we are discussing these diseases, number one, cardiovascular disease. You know that diet, it governs many situations which favor the onset of heart disease and especially coronary heart disease. Your diet, what you are taking in, what you are consuming as your diet, this, how then it affects the etiology of cardiovascular diseases. Now the risk increases with the elevated levels of cholesterol you take in your diet, and we have discussed all foods which are rich in cholesterol. Then of course when there are elevated levels of cholesterol and also elevated levels of low density lipoproteins, then they all lead to the causation of atherosclerosis. Now, what is the normal limit of cholesterol? Now, if the level of cholesterol it is higher than 200, of course it should be cutoff margin is 200, but if the level is higher, more than 220, then it causes a risk. Cholesterol is present in all the foods of animal origin, and some part of the cholesterol it is also synthesized in our body. Now, how we determine that what is the level of the cholesterol? Number one is the amount which is absorbed from the food, and then number two, as I have told you, that the amount which is synthesized in our body. How much it is reabsorbed, how much it is absorbed. So if the level of the cholesterol is high from the cutoff values, then of course increased levels, they lead to increased risk of coronary heart disease, right? Similarly, low density lipoproteins or LDL. Now, Now the low density cholesterol, it is carried in our body in plasma lipoprotein, and lipoproteins, they are divided into four major classes: chylomicrons, sorry slide, I'm sorry, it is carried, cholesterol I told you that is carried in plasma lipoproteins, and these are divided into four major classes. The lipoproteins, they are divided into four major classes. Number one is chylomicrons. Number two is very low density lipoproteins. You may label them as VLDL. Then there are low density lipoproteins, LDL, and then there are high density lipoproteins or HDL. Now, low density lipoproteins or LDL, they functions in the delivery of cholesterol to the body cells. Excess level of low density lipoproteins, it leads to accumulation of cholesterol in tissue cells, especially in the smooth muscles of the vascular system. So, in this way, this is involved in atherosclerosis process of the arteries. And in contrast to low density lipoproteins, the high density lipoproteins, they function in the removal of cholesterol from cells. This mechanism, it underlines its protective effect in coronary heart disease. So, the high density lipoproteins, they are protective for heart, and they protect the heart from developing coronary heart disease. So we see, if we modify the diet by increasing the intake of polyunsaturated fatty acids, and we are taking less amount of saturated fats, and also we are restricting the fat calories to 30% of the total calories. This will lower the risk of cardiovascular disease. I have mentioned earlier what are the risks for there are so many, but as we are concerned only with the diet. We are not dealing with the other factors which predispose to the cardiovascular diseases. We are only here dealing with the diet or nutrition. So I tell you, when you are consuming a diet which is rich in cholesterol or which is rich in low density lipoproteins, then there is increased risk of cardiovascular diseases. However, when we are consuming the diet in which polyunsaturated fatty acids, they are high, and the saturated fats, they are low, and the total amount of energy or calories which we take from the fats, they are less than 30% of the total calories, then we decrease the risk of the cardiovascular disease or coronary heart disease. So you see how these fats, how this cholesterol, all these, how they affect the development of or they predispose to the factors which cause cardiovascular diseases, atherosclerosis in our blood vessels. Now after this cholesterol and lipoproteins, then there are triglycerides, there are carbohydrates, there are salts. They all play their role in causation of heart disease. So now we will talk about the fatty acids, how they cause heart disease. Now, polyunsaturated fatty acids, in which linolenic acid and arachidonic acid, they both inhibit the platelet aggregation. So they inhibit thrombus formation. So they decrease the development of atherosclerosis in the blood vessels. Then there are triglycerides, they also increase. So police, we ask that use of polyunsaturated fatty acids, this is useful. However, triglycerides, they are also an independent risk causing heart diseases. However, if we talk about the carbohydrates, then if the diet is high in carbohydrates, then there is low risk of development of coronary heart disease. So carbohydrates, they decrease the risk of developing if we are consuming more in our diet. But all these are, of course, these are hypotheses, and research is always going on, and in carbohydrates also there is that if we are consuming more fiber, then of course the fiber is more in our diet, then of course the risk is less of developing coronary heart disease, right? So carbohydrates, they decrease, but what about the salt? You are all very much familiar that high intake of salt, this also leads to the development of hypertension, and of course persistent hypertension, this will again lead to heart disease. So the sodium intake, it should be low in order to prevent the heart disease. Omega-3, this is recommended for consumption if there is no documented coronary heart disease. Then of course in order to prevent, we always prescribe that the patients who have got mild hypertension or there is a family history, then of course they should consume white meat and fish, and they should not consume more red meat. They should take plenty of fruits and vegetables, so that, and of course we talk about their lifestyle, and we ask them not to consume alcohol, don't indulge in smoking, all these factors, because they lead to the development of heart disease. So just to revise, cardiovascular diseases, how the diet affects the development: increased cholesterol in the diet and low density lipoproteins. Both these predispose to the development of coronary heart disease. Now here we are recommending increase intake of polyunsaturated fatty acids, and we are advising to take less saturated fats, as well as your fat portion of the diet which is providing calories, it should be less than 30% of the total dietary calories. All these will lower the risk of the cardiovascular diseases. This is all about the diet, not the other risk factors. Okay, now after this we come to the diabetes, and after diabetes we will consider about the obesity and the cancer. All these are related with our diet. Now here in this slide you see here when there is cardiovascular disease, how it is developing. There are modifiable risk factors: consumption of tobacco, then there is obesity, physical inactivity, poor nutrition, alcohol consumption, diabetes mellitus. All these are creating hypertension and hyperlipidemia. And when there is persistent hypertension and hyperlipidemia, then of course it will lead to coronary artery disease on one side and cancer on other side. Because there is no definite cause of cancer, we are not sure about, very 100% sure about the etiology of cancer. We have got certain risk factors, we have got certain dietary factors which are involved in the causation of cancer. So here again, poor nutrition, it is also leading to cancer. Of course we know about the family history and all this, but exposure to radiation, there are so many other factors. Of course diet, it plays a very important role in the etiology of cancers, just as it is creating a role in the cardiovascular diseases. Diet plays a role in the etiology of cancers, and then diet plays its major role in causing obesity. And the obesity, this again leads to, of course, cancer and heart disease. So these are all, the green portion, it shows all those risk factors which are modifiable. Non-modifiable, of course we cannot change the sex and age and family history and all, but the modifiable risk factors we can of course modify. We can plan how we should omit all these factors, and diet or nutrition, it's a very important factor. Okay, so I switch on. Now we come to diabetes, and you are all very much familiar. As you are in 4th year, you must have seen the patients of diabetes in your clinical medicine wards, and you know very well know about the diabetes. It is the impaired metabolism of glucose in the body. In diabetes mellitus, blood glucose level, this is high, and we call it as hyperglycemia. And of course, because the blood glucose level is high, so the glucose, this is excreted in the urine, and we call it as glycosuria. So the manifestations clinically, number 1, in the blood hyperglycemia, and then is the glycosuria. And glucose level, this is controlled in our body by insulin. Now this insulin, it maintains the level of glucose in the blood, and also insulin, it plays a role in the synthesis of protein. Now in diabetes, insulin is not present in sufficient amounts to metabolize glucose, and there are so many reasons. We are not going to discuss the reason why insulin is not sufficient. However, because in diabetes we all know that insulin level is not maintaining the blood glucose level. So deficiency of insulin, this will lead to utilization of energy reserves from our fat stores or fat depots. So when we are taking energy from the fat depots, then what will happen? That end result will be fatty acids will be produced. These fatty acids, then they are oxidized by liver and they will form ketone bodies. Now when we have excess of ketone bodies in diabetes, then of course what will happen? There will be ketoacidosis and there will be diabetic coma. So you see, if diabetes, this is manifested, then you have to plan your diet. You are not supposed to take high carbohydrate diet, because this will again increase your glucose level in the blood. So proper nutrition, this is proper, careful, vigilant, planned diet, this is required so that we will overcome this diabetes mellitus. Now obesity. Now obesity, this is it's like an epidemic nowadays. You can see obesity right from the childhood. Obesity can be seen, and of course there may be so many reasons, but of course our diet is playing the major role in causation of obesity, and especially the diet of youth nowadays, which includes all type of soft drinks, then junk food consumption, this is very much high, and then of course physical inactivity is also present here. So there are so many factors, but we will consider that the diet, it plays a major role in the causation of obesity. And then of course in obesity, the central obesity, where the fat is deposited over the abdomen, this is of course very harmful. You know, pear-shaped obesity and apple-like obesity. And the apple-like obesity, this is not good. Then there comes cancer. Now if you see this slide here, there is hyperlipidemia, then there is diabetes, then there is hypertension. All the factors, they are causing, related with one another. Diabetes leads to obesity, obesity leads to diabetes, hypertension leads to heart diseases leads to obesity, because then when the person is ill, sick with the disease, then he assumes sedentary lifestyle unless and until he is motivated very much. So physical inactivity is present, mood disorders, they are present, reproductive disorders, they are present, and of course liver disease is present. There is risk of cancer. So obesity, it can cause so many things, and so many things they can cause obesity. All these are related to one another. So what message they are giving? All these are giving what message to us? That our diet, it should be very carefully planned, because we are what we eat. We look what we eat. We think what we eat. So we are what we eat, and we have to plan our diet. So because we want to prevent these diseases, we want to increase the life expectancy, we have to be very careful. Now if we talk about cancer, of course in the etiology, environmental factors, they come, family history, that is involved, but however some dietetic factors, they are also involved. In dietetic factors, dietary fat comes first, because there is a strong relationship between cancer colon and dietary intake of fat. High fat intake accounts for high incidence of colon cancer. There is also a positive correlation between per capita consumption of dietary fat and breast cancer rates. Although breast cancer, this is very strongly related with the family history. However, per capita consumption of dietary fat and breast cancer relationship was observed. And if we reduce the dietary fat, this will alter the risk of breast cancer. How? Although there are so many theories that this will increase estrogen production or prolactin release. However, this has been postulated, observed, that if we reduce the dietary fat, then the risk of cancer, this is reduced. Then of course there are certain micronutrients. Micronutrients, they have got certain protective influence. I have discussed in vitamin A that if we are taking low intake of vitamin A, then cancer of lung. Low intake of vitamin A, it is also related with the cancer of lung. Although we are not 100% sure, but of course we relate the cancer of the lungs with the deficiency of vitamin A. Then of course, if vitamin C is deficient, this is related with the cancer of the stomach. So in micronutrients, they play a role in the development of cancers. Then you see nowadays we are using certain type of food additives and certain preservatives they are added in our food just to increase the shelf life of that particular food item, and there are certain type of colors which are added in our food, and these may lead to cancer, because we can relate that these, especially the red color which is included in the food, they cause cancer. Then of course alcohol consumption is also, it causes in the liver cirrhosis, liver cancer. So alcohol which is consumed in the societies where it is consumed very heavily, it is also related with the cancer. However, if we are consuming dietary fiber, it decreases the incidence of colon cancer or the risk of colon cancer. In cancer, we are not 100% sure, but we have thought that this may predispose. So dietary fat, it is predisposing. Then deficiency of micronutrients, this is predisposing. Then consuming the food which has got food additives or preservatives or colors, they are promoting cancer. Then consumption of alcohol, this is promoting cancer. And one thing which is a blessing, which is that dietary fiber. So what is the end result? That we have to add fruits and vegetables in our diet. Now these fruits and vegetables, they of course will provide us fiber, but they also provide us healthy diet. So good nutrition, this will create a good health. Proper balanced diet, proper planned diet, how much it has got its impact on our life. This is the food pyramid. This slide is showing that when the person, he is consuming a balanced diet including all the grains, vegetables, fruits, milk and dairy products, meat, beans, fish. When he is consuming the balanced diet, then he is progressing towards the healthy life. So I wish you good luck. I wish you best of luck. I give you food for thought that from today onwards, of course, I think that you also will plan your diet. Okay. Best wishes for your test. Go on studying and go on analyzing also that what you are consuming, what you should consume, what you should restrict, like your junk food, like your drinks, energy drinks and other cola drinks and all, which is harmful to your health. Okay, stay healthy, stay blessed. Allah Hafiz. Thank you very much for listening patiently to my lecture.